Brandon, the other day you said something about how you're not surprised because you've been seeing it happen, but when that final out is registered and the reality is that you did not make the playoffs, is there a level of shock or surprise?
I mean, it's just sadness. It doesn't feel good. I don't know that it's surprise because it's a possibility of the outcome today. But falling short of a goal it never feels good. I'm sure everyone in this room has probably had a goal that they've set that they haven't reached, and it never feels good. But it can fuel you to be better. It can fuel you to do better the next time. To cover more things the next time, to uncover more stones. Your mind always goes to, when you miss it by one game, it goes to, okay, well, what one game could we have done better in? And there's definitely many cases of that throughout the year, but that's kind of where your mind goes. But yeah, unfortunately, we just didn't do quite enough. We fell one game short.
With all the expectations and the talent in this room, where do you think that it ultimately went wrong?
I might need some time to evaluate that. Just been trying to focus on today for a while, take it one game at a time. But again, I might need some time to look back and evaluate that. I'm sure there's some things that'll probably pop up. I'll go back. I like to go back. I like to look at the numbers. I like to kind of be able to evaluate and kind of point to some things where we went wrong. But unfortunately, I haven't done that yet. And we'll let this one sink in for a little bit, and then I'll go back and I'll evaluate. But there is no question, to answer your question, that we fell short of expectations for this goal. That's easily seen for this team. We had a lot of talent. Again, I said at one point in the year I felt like it was the most talented team that I've ever played on, and we weren't able to make the playoffs. So that's obviously coming up short and a failure in my mind.
Pete was talking about how you guys maybe didn't do enough to try and cut down leads and stop bounce back innings. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of defensive mistakes. We've been talking about that for the last few weeks. How much of some of that is on the coaches and how much of that is on the players? Well,
I mean, the coaches can do, they can do what they can do, but ultimately all responsibility comes back on us. So anything that did or did not happen out on the field, that comes down to us. We have to make the final decisions out there, and we're the ones that should take the blame for that. So the coaches, they definitely advise us, and they definitely try and help us, and they try and do the best that they can and give us all the information that they possibly can. But ultimately it comes down to us and us executing out there. So I think the responsibility falls on us as the players.
Does this sting anymore, knowing that Cincinnati did lose, and if you had won, that you would have?
Yeah, for sure. If you win and they win, it still stings. Don't get me wrong, but it does sting even more knowing that it was within your grasp. All you had to do was win that last game. So that one was a nice little cherry on top for the sting. It definitely hurts.
How do you feel about what you needed from a manager, Carlos Mendoza, this year?
Yeah, I mean, again, I like I said, I think all the responsibility falls back on the players. So, I think we have to own up to our own actions. It's ultimately our decision what we do. It's ultimately our decision if we're not getting enough information to go pursue that information. So I think the responsibility falls on us as players.
How do you feel about the fact that this might be the last game that you play with Pete?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I haven't quite dealt with that yet because I was trying to, I was hoping there'd be more. But I love Pete. Obviously, we got to see Pete at his absolute best this year, just absolutely destroying baseballs. You saw it again today. He's a game changer, and if that ball gets down, which it does like 99% of the time, what was it, like 115, 116, something like that. He just, I love playing with him, and I love the competitor that he is. So, I'm sure the Mets will be in contact with him this offseason a lot, but if it did happen to be my last one, I've enjoyed every second of it.
As you're going around hugging these guys, just what's the message that you're telling them?
I think it's that we fell short, and to look back and be honest with yourself on where we can get better and where you as an individual get better, because out there on the baseball field, it's a lot of individual battles that amount to a team effort. But there's only so much that the team can help out with in that mano-a-mano individual battle. So there's a lot of just, you have to go reflect on what you feel like you could be better at for the next year, and go to work on that this off season.